In exercise 18, we're told that a family kept a log of the distance they traveled during a trip, as represented by the graph. During which interval was their average speed the greatest? Remember, their average speed, or average rate of change, can be found by using the slope formula, y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1. Take the points to calculate the average rate of change for each interval. The first to second hour, I'll use 140, 2, 110. The second to fourth hour, I'll use 2, 110, and 4, 180. And I'll do that for each of the 4 intervals that are given. When I do that, I see that the greatest average rate of change happened between the first hour and the second hour, and so my solution is choice 1. In exercise 19, we're asked to analyze the statistics of 2 sets of data. Christopher looked at his quiz scores shown for the first and the second semester of his algebra class. The scores are given. Which statement is correct? They ask you in choice 1 to compare the interquartile range, in choice 2 to compare the medians, in choice 3 to compare the means, and in choice 4 to compare the third quartiles. We'll have to look at the one variable statistics. Put the data in your calculator in a list and spreadsheet, add a calculator page, and then look at the one variable statistic information. We can write down the data for the mean, minimum, Q1, median, Q3, maximum, and we can calculate the interquartile range, which is Q3 minus Q1. These numbers all come from your calculator. Let's answer the question by comparing each of the data statistics asked. In the first one, we compare, and we see that 12 is not greater than 12, so that's not true. Choice 2 looks at the medians. Is 88 greater than 88? No, not true. Choice 3, compare the means. 87 is greater than 86.8. Yes, that's true. Choice 4, compare the interquartile ranges, and we see no, that statement's not true. So the answer is choice 3. In problem 20, we're given the graph of a function, y equals f of x. Which point could be used to find f of 2? 2 is the input, or the x value. If you look at the graph, you see point A has an x value, or an input of 2, and so point A is the point that you could use to find f of 2. And so the answer to this problem is choice 1. In problem 21, we're told that a sunflower is 3 inches tall at week 0, that's when we planted it, and grows 2 inches each week. Which function or functions shown below can be used to determine the height, f of n, of the sunflower after n weeks? We have 3 possible equations to look at. Let's see what we know about the sunflower. When we planted it, week 0, it was 3 inches tall. After 1 week, it was 5 inches tall, 2 weeks, 7 inches tall, 3 weeks, 9 inches, and 4 weeks, 11 inches. It grew 2 inches each week. Let's look at a table for each of the functions given and see which ones have the same values that we have in our chart on the screen. Let's look at the first one. If we put f of n equals 2n plus 3 into our calculator, we get this table right here. Of course, when we put it into our calculator, we have to use the variable x, but we get this same table. And this table does match the one that we have up at the top of the screen. And so yes, choice 1 can be used to represent the situation. Let's look at choice 2. F of n is 2n plus 3 times n minus 1. When I put that into my calculator and I look at the table of values, I see that it does not at all come close to the chart that I have at the top of the screen. It gives me completely different values. Therefore, that function cannot be used to represent the growth of the sunflower. How about choice 3? This is probably the hardest or most confusing looking of the choices, because notice we have an f of n and an f of n minus 1. An f of n and an f of n minus 1 is notation for a sequence. It's a recursive notation. When we wrote that in class, we used a slightly different notation. We would have said an equals an minus 1 plus 2. And a0, the 0th term, or the initial value, was 3. If we wrote out that sequence, we'd have our initial value of 3, and then it says we add 2 each time. So we add 2 to get 5, 7, and 9. That matches the data in my original table, and so yes, choice 3 also can be used to represent the height of the sunflower after n weeks. Which of these choices do we choose for our final answer? Choice 1 and choice 3, which is option 4, 1 and 3. In exercise 22, a cell phone company charges $60 per month for up to 1 gigabyte of data. The cost of additional data is 5 cents per megabyte. D represents the number of additional megabytes used. C represents the total charges at the end of the month. Which equation can be used to determine the monthly bill? Let's see what we know. We know that it costs $60 for up to 1 gigabyte of data and 5 cents for each additional megabyte. C represents the total cost, and D represents the additional data used. We have a fixed cost of $60 plus 5 cents for each extra megabyte, D, that's used. So we have C, the total cost, equals $60, the initial amount, plus 5 cents per extra megabyte. Choice 4 is our answer. Exercise 23 gives the formula of a volume of a cone, V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. The radius r of the cone may be expressed as which of these choices? In other words, we want to solve the equation for r. We can do that by beginning to clear the fraction. Multiply the entire equation, both sides, by 3. 3v equals pi r squared h, and we no longer have a fraction to deal with. To solve for r, we divide both sides by pi h. That leaves us 3v over pi h equals r squared. But we're not quite done yet because we need to solve for r, and r still has a squared. Remember, the inverse of squaring is taking the square root, so we take the square root of both sides. Which choice matches? Well, r equals the square root of 3v over pi h, choice 1. In exercise 24, we're given a diagram. The diagrams represent the first 3 terms of a sequence. Let's begin by getting some information from the pictures. Term 1 has 12 boxes shaded. Term 2 has 16 boxes shaded. Term 3 has 20 boxes shaded. The sequence is 12, 16, 20. There are several ways that you could solve this problem. Option 1 is you could take each of the choices, those equations, y equals 4n plus 12, y equals 4n plus 8, y equals 4n plus 4, and y equals 4n plus 2, put them in your graphing calculator, and look at the tables. If you do that, you'll see that the table for choice 2 has 112, 216, and 320, which means choice 2 is the correct equation. Option 2 would be to use what you know about writing the equation of a sequence. This is an arithmetic sequence because each time we're adding 4 to the previous term, so it's arithmetic. And so an equals the first term plus the common difference times n minus 1. Substitute the numbers in. First term is 12, common difference is 4, times n minus 1. Distribute the 4 and combine like terms, and you get an equals 4n plus 8. Again, choice 2. A third option for solving this would be to make a table of values. 112, 216, and 320. Put those values in your calculator. In the list and spreadsheet, perform a linear regression, and you'll get y equals 4x plus 8. So choice 2, once again, is the answer. So there's many ways to approach this problem. Choose the one that's the most comfortable for you,